and welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Davy, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Brian Truong, the Fund Development Officer for Alzheimer Society of Peel. The Alzheimer Society of Peel exists to alleviate the personal and social consequences of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias to help find the cause, prevention, and an overall cure. Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now, to begin, why don't you give us a little bit, give us and our listeners a little bit more information? Like to start off, tell us a bit more about yourself and what inspired you to work for the Alzheimer Society of Peel and with individuals with disabilities as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. So my background from schooling comes from communications and public relations. But after working a couple years in my career, I really found a love for working with nonprofit, and especially for a cause that's really, really dear to my heart. As what kind of inspired me to work specifically with Alzheimer's Society Peel was that my grandfather actually passed away because of dementia. So he passed away in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So he didn't have to go through the pandemic, which was really luckily. But it really inspired me to really look in the needs and the impacts of what dementia can really have on families. So when I was looking through different job paths and going through the corporate world, I really, really didn't feel fulfilled in my work. So I saw this opening at Alzheimer's Society, and I recently just joined with them just this past year. So I've just been with Alzheimer's Society Peel just since last January.
That's an absolutely amazing journey to note, and I will say I can definitely relate to you on many fronts. On the one hand, you're not the only one with a grandparent that recently passed. I remember that my grandmother died in 2019, so before a year before the pandemic. A year before the pandemic hit, so thankfully she didn't have to go through it either. She too died of dementia, and it definitely hit home for me as well. So so the point in it is that I can definitely relate to you on that front, but also the love for the nonprofit sector too, because in my background being from community safety, I was lucky to have been able to get the opportunity to work with the folks here at V4A and their partner organization, Connect for Life. But that being said, this is all about you. And in preparing for this interview with you today, I must admit, I did a good amount of research, and I was absolutely floored in a good way by what I've been seeing. On the one hand, you have something called Coffee Break, among other things on your website, as well as Memories to Music. Do you think that you could talk to us a little bit about what Coffee Break and Memories to Music are?
Yeah, for sure. So our Coffee Break is just a opportunity for third-party vendors. So whether it be an external organization or just be a community group that would love to interact with Alzheimer's and do an educational piece, talking and communicating about either there's being a support group or learning more about dementia resources and possibly connecting with each other. Because we know it's a really big growing population that has dementia, and it's affecting many around, and people feel like they're very isolated because of the situation. But knowing that there's an ability to find resources, find individuals who are going through similar situations, and not everyone's situation is the same, but it's an opportunity to kind of bring your story and bounce off ideas off one another to really navigate what you're going through and what situations have worked for other people. So that's kind of what the Coffee Break does. We invite organizations to kind of join together, and we give them resources. And sometimes we also have a lead that we'll bring to the coffee talk and just be able to give them that break to be over lunch, and kind of a lunch and learn ordeal where we be able to educate and guide a group kind of beyond just a webinar.
All right. That's great to know.
Yeah, for Memory for Music, it's actually a programming that started with our program lead with Ruth. So she leads our music therapy program. So Memory for Music is just one of our campaigns that we run, and it's really to help with those living with dementia and Alzheimer's, and being able to kind of use that as a therapy via music, be able to kind of get that cognitive stimulation back and moving forward with them in the sense of finding joy through music and being able to connect with one another, because it's just a vehicle of being able to kind of recognize each expression that they kind of go through.
Of course. And to that end, music is technically a universal language in many ways, one would argue, right?
Exactly.
And now, also, too, I noticed that you have something big coming up, a big walk in the next couple months. If I remember correctly, it's called the IG Wealth Management Walk for Alzheimer's. Do you think that you could tell us a little bit about it and how you're ensuring that said walk is fully accessible for everyone?
Yeah, for sure. So our walk is happening this May. So Saturday, May 24th. This year it's going to be located at the Air Mills Town Center. So we've rented out a parking lot and we've kind of reimagined the walk this year. Typically, over the past few years, we've been doing it at local community parks, and we've had a very good turnout with attendances in the 300s. Last year was just over 500 and pouring rain. So we have a great community drive to kind of do this event. So this year we thought we would want to kind of raise the bar and reimagine it. So we're doing an all-day event. So we have the walk in the morning and a carnival that will run throughout the whole day. So to kind of make sure it's super accessible, what we really wanted to make sure is in previous years, we've done the distance of 3K or 5K, but this year we've kind of made it more accessible by having the venue in a flat area within the parking lot of Aaron Mills. Super accessible by transportation means right off the QEW, a lot of transport via either my way or having parking available. And we made sure that we're allowing anybody who has any accessible aids to be included in the events, or also guide dogs and pets. We ask if you do bring a pet, please have it leashed, but we do allow them to be in the venue itself. And we have many different staffs that are there to be culturally diverse, to speak different languages if needed for an accessibility for languages. They can come and request upon prior to the event. So reach out to us via email if you're really struggling with languages or need a translator on site. If you reach out to us prior, we can definitely make those arrangements.
Absolutely, and that would be great to know. Though I must say, 500 in the rain, you said.
Yeah, last year was an amazing show out. We raised just over $85,000 via community supports, and we just had over 500 people in attendance that year. And it was in pouring rain out in the lakefront promenade, so it was a great turnout despite the weather, and shows how much people really care about this event.
And that's absolutely amazing to know. Again, the fact that people showed up in the pouring rain, that seems like something out of a movie or out of a book. But that's absolutely amazing to know that there are such dedicated people out there. And apart from the walk itself, I also noticed that you also have a special event coming up. Well, at least under your special events tab, anyway, called "Help for Today, Hope for Tomorrow." Do you think that you could tell us a little bit about it? And hopefully, I got that correct.
Yeah, so that's kind of our slogan going forward, moving with our mission. It's not necessarily events, but kind of what we move forward with as an organization. We really, really want to make sure we're servicing people who are in need of service today, and really, really are trying to make some hope for tomorrow. Because one of the quotes that I really love from our CEO, Chris, he would always love to say, I would love to be put out of business. We would love to not need to give service to people with this, and there's a cure for dementia. Unfortunately, there just isn't one right now. So what we need to do is provide as much services as possible to give people the respect and dignity that they deserve.
Fair enough. And interesting quote. I'd love to be put out of business. That's absolutely amazing. And considering that it aligns with your goals, it's absolutely crafty to that. Now, another fundraiser that I noticed while I was again preparing was social with a purpose. And well, now, do you think you could give us a little insight into what social with a purpose is?
Yeah, so social with a purpose is essentially what we really are trying for is making multiple fundraisers with third party organizations. So just beyond reaching out to the community, having them do fundraisers for us. So things like doing a walk in the box. So instead of being, if they couldn't attend our annual walk, we offer opportunities for people to host their own type of walk. And we'll help organize that in the sense of providing them some supports with our materials with our walk, and be able to kind of fundraise our goal, because are really reliant upon our general community to help raise some funds. So this year's goal is actually 100,000 for our walk, and we're trying to raise these goals to help provide funding for different expansions of our capital campaigns, whether it be via new buildings for different programming or expansions to our current day programs and funding for our behavioral support Ontario teams, and just being more inclusive and expansive on our programming for our clientele.
Of course. And on the note of funding, I also noticed that you had another fundraiser, well, a third party fundraising. And do you think that you could give us a little insight into what third party fundraising is all about, and and also another thing called the Unforgettable Run?
So that project is done with our federation. So that's done with the Alzheimer's Society Ontario. So that's an independent run beyond Alzheimer's Society Peel, but we work very closely with all the different chapters. And how it usually works is we have, like I said, independent organizations that come contact us and fundraise in our behalf. So we usually vet them out just to make sure the legitimacy of the funds are being appropriately conducted and being able to be donated to us. But we vet them out and we attend these events and be able to kind of engage different types of communities and different organizations, whether it be a corporate organization or a community town center. We really love to be able to engage and let them be the organizer and let them really control the event and how they want to participate with their community and how to engage them. But we're there to kind of give them the educational piece of what the funds are being used for, dementia related, Alzheimer's and dementia related educations on strategies, and really bring awareness to what's happening in the community, what the growing population's really facing, and what challenges can come, and how we can navigate those challenges.
Of course, of course. And considering that that as we've talked about already at length in this conversation today, arguably there would be a bunch of dedicated people out there who would be more than willing to help with the organization's overall mission. Now, in that case, if those people wanted to become members of the organization, members of Alzheimer's Society Appeal, or just volunteer with the organization, what are the respective processes like? Be it for joining as a member or joining on as a volunteer. What are the respective processes for both like?
Yeah, for sure. We're always open. You can always reach us at our phone number. So that'd be 905-278-3667. So that's an always direct open line for anybody with any inquiries, whether it be volunteering, donations, fundraising, any sort of inquiry. That's just our direct line that help be able to filter you and connect you to the correct people. But for volunteering, we have our volunteering email. So volunteering at alzheimerspeel.com. And also, we're always looking for corporate partnerships to help raise funds for ourselves, whether it be sponsorship for the walk, where we're looking for as much sponsorship as possible to help cover logistical costs and make sure we're able to provide grand events and bigger programming, more comprehensive quality of life programming for the clientele that we do serve. So again, every dollar that we raise is going right back into the programming. We are trying to be as expansive as possible to kind of give you an idea. Alzheimer's Society Peel services just over 54,000 people in the Peel region alone. To give you what that number really means is through our continuum services, they've requested over 84,000 total units of service. So that's out of the 54,000, that's a lot more. It's about a 12% increase from what we had last year. And this is just in the region of Peel. And it's a continually growing number. So we really, really are reliant on the community to help raise funds and be able to continue to provide for that increased demand.
Of course, of course. And now, this next question, I apologize for its loaded nature, though everybody answers it fairly differently depending on who you ask. Now, in your opinion, good sir, what's the one thing that you think you see? Well, sorry, what is the one thing you see happening repeatedly to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be? And in your opinion, how do we collectively go about stopping it?
I think the biggest thing would be stigmatization. I think it's whether it be from others or their self perceived stigmatization and denial of what they may have. And it really, really stops the progression of them getting services and being able to benefit from the multiple of resources that we have available for them, whether it be for Alzheimer's or dementia or beyond that with other health issues or just being able to relate to them and making sure they're able to get the services they need, because it's very unfortunate to see the stigmatizations beyond what the public would perceive, and what really is reality for these individuals, that they can definitely get a better quality of life if they weren't scared to be stigmatized by it. So we really want to be able to bring enough awareness and also destigmatize a lot of the myths beyond Alzheimer's, dementia, and be able to provide services and people be able to have a better quality of life.
And that's absolutely amazing to know that you and the rest of the Alzheimer's Society Appeal are out there doing that continued good work. And to that end, if our listeners are out there are looking for more information, be it about how they can help, how they can volunteer, about the events that they want to take part in, the services and the different programs that you offer, how can they find you? How can they reach you?
Yeah, for sure. We're always open to anybody reaching out. Again, you can follow up with our direct support. So direct.support at alzheimerspeel.com for any service inquiries, or also reach out to our phone number at 905-278-3667. We also have that extension 307 that will help guide you to that direct support, and they will definitely connect you with anybody that you may have an inquiry about. If we can't answer it internally, we're more than happy to recommend resources that would be able to help service you.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brian. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. And with that, everyone, we've reached the end of yet another amazing interview segment. You are listening to Community Partners presented by Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. I'm your host, Davy O. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see y'all next time.